This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Greetings from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV and also on our streaming site, eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejo, so welcome to Open for Business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. Trade shows and exhibitions were one of the most effective and engaging ways to connect with existing and potential customers. But the spread of COVID-19 changed all that with the large cancellations of both global and domestic events. Now that health and safety protocols and social distancing are a must, the days of the crowded trade show floors are so 2019. In this week's episode of Open for Business, we will look into how virtual expos can fill the void to still help MSMEs expand their businesses and continue to engage with customers. David Abrenilia, the founder and chief events officer of Mediacom Solutions, Inc., will join us in this week's Open for Business.
Ayoko nang magising kasi gusto ko lumilipad kayo dyan.
Ang galing eh, talagang professional yung inyong pagkaka-execute.
Masakit sa ulo tong araw na ito.
Yan! Amazing!
Only one spot left sa ating Gen Y Finals at mukhang hindi papaawat ang ating mga kababayan. Kaya naman abangan ang kanilang performance dito lang sa Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Dance Edition.
Open for Business is back, and with me is Mr. Arthur David Abrenilia, founder and chief events officer of Mediacom Solutions, Inc. How are you, David?
Thank you very much. I'm very well, Cesar. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
We were talking a lot of things already off-cam, and we were discussing how the pandemic affected us. It's very interesting in your case because as we were also discussing offline, you are probably the first trade events or expo organizer who first guested in Open for Business after the pandemic. So you've been doing a lot of events in 2019 and even I think one of the shows is now on its 10th edition or even more. How has the pandemic affected your business, David?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. So for the trade show industry, which we belong to, which includes exhibitions and also conferences, the pandemic has hit us very hard. You know, a lot of, or most likely all exhibitions that were scheduled for 2020 were all canceled due to the pandemic, not just in the Philippines, but all around the world. And for organizers like us, the pandemic is not over. As other businesses are starting to resume again, like restaurants, malls are being open, and so forth, large gatherings of people is until now not allowed. And we fall under the Department of Tourism, and based on the latest information that I got, it is still in such a way that they say, okay, once the vaccine distribution will start, that's when the government will look to ease the gathering of large audiences, specifically for the trade show industry.
Mhm. Now, we know, David, that trade shows, conferences, and exhibitions are really very important marketing avenues for businesses to reach out to their customers. Before the pandemic, how was your business? I know that you are an organizer of various events, and these are very credible events, and a lot of SMEs are participating. How can you describe the events business, trade show, exhibitions before the pandemic? How were you doing then?
Yeah, I mean, prior to the pandemic, our business was doing well. We have been in the exhibition industry since 2013, so that's now we're going into our eighth year. We organize primarily the Philippine SME Business Expo, which empowers small and medium enterprises. We also own the Entrepreneurial and Franchise Expo, which promotes entrepreneurship and franchising, as well as the Baby, Kids, and Family Expo, which is the consumer-oriented show. As for our business-to-business trade shows, the Phil SME and the Entrepreneur and Franchise Expo, they have been performing very, very well. We have returning customers who've been growing steadily between like 15 to 20%. And we're seeing a continuously increase of exhibitors participating in our shows, which of course makes us very, very happy. And we're happy to assist our exhibitors in helping them grow their businesses. We see the exhibitions industry not only as a promotional or marketing tool, but it's also dedicated to help promote our country. You know, we also see a steady influx of foreign exhibitors, companies coming to the Philippines, wanting to create their businesses here, employing people, giving jobs, and to basically lift up the economy in this country. So how has COVID-19 affected our business? It has affected tremendously. We were able still to hold the Baby, Kids, and Family Expo prior to the pandemic, but as soon as the pandemic hit, all our events had to be postponed or canceled. So right now the status is that we don't have an exact date on when we can hold again physical exhibitions, but also we had to learn how to adapt in this pandemic. And I think that's really what was important, and that's including a lot of other industries when it comes to digital transformation. So we see now in 2021 that it is possible to meet online. I think everybody is used now to have Zoom meetings, right? Yes. Which before nobody knew what is Zoom, right? But now it's like everybody's in a Zoom meeting. I think it eases some way also the way of doing business, because we know in Metro Manila, traffic is a constant companion in our daily life. But now it's like, you can do more than 3 meetings in a day. You just log in and you start your meeting, and then you go into the next one. So it has changed the way how we do business in general, right? And how we communicate. So we are also embracing this change, and I'm very happy to announce that we will be holding our first virtual expo, which will be our 10th Philippine SME Business Expo, which we'll be holding on February 23 to 25, this 2021.
Yeah, David, before I ask you more about that, you've said the importance of the exhibitions industry, not only to promote the businesses, small businesses, but also of the country. Yes. During the pandemic, definitely you have been in contact with a lot of SME owners, especially the ones who were your clients, who are your clients, and coaching them on and telling them about the cancellations. What was really sad was even the big ones, as you mentioned, the global events that are normally conducted every year, and where people really converge, have been canceled. So far, David, with your discussions with your customers, especially the ones who attend and exhibit their products and services in your trade shows, what was their general sentiment? Were they waiting, for this to be over? During in managing the cancellations, what was your promise to them, or what was the arrangement given to them? Because it was really a screeching halt, and nobody knew, when will it be, what happens next. So, what was their general sentiment, and how did you manage their expectations?
Okay, so number one, of course, we reached out to everyone and just letting them know that, as we are nearing the dates of our events, because in March, our next event was planned in May. So, of course, when the announcement came about COVID-19 and the pandemic, and that we're going into a lockdown, nobody really knew yet, how serious it will be, how long it will be. I still remember that we had announcements coming in every 2 weeks from the president's palace to give updates on what is happening, and that lasted for about, I think, until May, and then we opened up, and then by June or July we went back into ECQ. So there was a lot of wait and see. What we communicated to our customers at first is that we're still planning to continue doing the exhibitions. We moved all our exhibition dates towards the last quarter of the year. And we were just listening to basically also what is happening in those businesses themselves. Because as for many businesses, the pandemic came as a shock. So a lot of businesses were mostly confronted with first internally dealing with what to do with their business, with the employees, how will their business generally function in the pandemic. I think nobody was prepared yet really to have a business where everybody works from home. Developing that kind of an infrastructure and communication strategy to do that is already an immense effort. So luckily, majority of our customers understood the situation of it. Also, they had empathy with the events industry at large. They understood that, okay, we cannot meet. We understand that, as long as there is a promise that the event will be held, there will be okay. Of course, now we're almost, I think, 10 months into it. Now looks a little bit different. Of course, people are wondering, okay, will events happen this year or not? And that's also why we responded in a way that we looked for new technologies in a way where we can have virtual meetings. This was, in July, when we first talked to our customers, nobody was really yet comfortable in seeing how can a virtual event work. But what we have learned over the past 7 months is that a lot of industries are transforming, are adapting. It's not anymore of when will we go back to normal? I think people now understand that we are already in the new normal, that this is part of the new normal.
Yeah, but David, I just have to cut you there, because off cam you also mentioned about the gainers and losers during the pandemic. You've been in contact with them because they are the primary consumers of trade shows and exhibitions. In your view, and as you gather insights from SMEs, what industries were heavily affected, and which industries gained?
Okay, so to name the winners, I would say is a lot in terms of any company that has to do with technology, whether it's IT solutions, e-commerce, aggregating platforms like Shopee and the others. Yeah, not to name them all. There were major drivers for a lot of small businesses to look for new avenues to distribute their goods. So I think anyone who was still in selling products had different kinds of channels where they just needed to learn how to use those channels in order to generate sales, right? I think, which of course industry that was majorly hit is the restaurant, food and beverages. I mean, we just go around Makati and you will see so many restaurants and bars that are empty. Right, so I think in terms of the whole entertainment industry has been also majorly affected, right? Where thousands and millions of people lost their jobs and their income. Yeah, it's still that a lot of people are not confident to really go out and mingle. People just meet in small groups, preferably still at home or outside, but not in enclosed facilities. So just to name, the winners for me is mainly the technology companies, IT solutions, and anything in that space, including e-commerce and so forth. The losers for me are large venues, anything that promotes gathering of large audiences. They're still having until now a hard time. So SMEs are very hard. Medium to large businesses that, let's say, had cash reserves to bridge it, that have good credit standing, they have higher chances to get out of this pandemic well, because we are not over yet. It's, we're still currently in the stage where we are fighting a disease, right? Where we are still looking for the vaccine to be deployed. I mean, other countries already have it. We're still waiting for it to become majorly available for everyone. But the economic effect that this pandemic has on a lot of businesses, that is still continuing, right? So, well, we have to remain hopeful and optimistic. And we have to look for new ways on how we can operate our businesses. And digitalization is one thing that plays a key role in overcoming the pandemic.
Yes. Speaking of optimism, David, of course, as we mentioned earlier, it's the conferences, trade show, exhibitions, it's the events organizers who were also affected by the pandemic. SMEs, a lot of businesses, some of them closed shop, some of them really had to lay off their workers, and there were a lot of issues that they had to deal with. In your case, did you ever think of changing your business model? And if not, what was that concept or vision that was running in your mind as an entrepreneur to continue what you have been doing? Because I always hear the CEOs and thought leaders talk about this, that the pandemic was really the time for them to reflect and review their business models. In your case, especially in trade exhibitions, and when we go to the trade shows and we see crowded people, that was so very 2019, but we don't really expect that in 2020, and probably 1 or 2 more years. So what was that thing that was running in your mind to, as you also mentioned earlier, show how resilient Filipino entrepreneurs are?
Yeah, so to answer this question, we have to assess basically what the business is, right? So for us as an exhibition organizer, we're basically leasing a place where we make our revenue by selling booth space, right? And and that's basically where we make our revenue. When reflecting on the business, I really looked at it from a perspective of like, what is really our core competency and what is our promise for our business? And that is connecting people, right? We're doing it in form of like, leasing a place, basically leasing them out the spaces to companies that we feel, is a reflection of our industry. And then we connect them and we market them to an audience that would like to meet them. So for us, for example, in the Philippine SME Business Expo, we communicate continuously that our exhibition, the companies that we would like to promote, are companies that are providing business solutions to small and medium enterprises. So that can be HR solution, that can be logistics, that can be banking, financing, accounting, payroll, marketing, advertisement, you name it, right? Anything that a small business owner needs. And our attendees are basically small business owners or entrepreneurs. And in some aspect also aspiring entrepreneurs, because we also feature business opportunities. So knowing that, we just had to basically take a look at it. Okay, we have a database that we have gathered over 7 years, right? Where we have about like 50,000 small and medium enterprise business owners in our databases. So these are basically the ones that we know they are always looking for business solution. Also during the pandemic right now. And that's why we know for ourselves, our job is to connect those people with the business solutions providers. And that's what we will continue doing so, and for us also what we realize is it's more about also now community development. So what does it mean for us? For us, that also means to have more online meetings, which before we could not do, just to give updates, to inform generally the SME business industry, to give them updates, to do talks, do certain presentations, just to continuously give them information and value. That's how I look at it right now, right? It is right now everybody is looking like, what can I do right now? How can I overcome the struggle? How can I strive? And what opportunities are out there? And that's what we are basically presenting. We're working with different stakeholders, different stakeholders from different industries that can provide valuable information to different sectors. And if one idea sparks something in someone, then I already say we did a good job in that.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually, that's a very great insight, David, because as you explained it now, you are not necessarily in the business of events, but you're connecting consumers, connecting people, building ideas out of that. And I also realized, and maybe our viewers can realize, that it's really more on how you look at things. It's the mindset of the entrepreneur, that's very important here. So before we go into break, David, you mentioned this key concept of digital transformation. Before with the trade events execution, everything has to be physical. But with digital transformation, those who prepare themselves, the SMEs who were prepared to embrace digital transformation, and we were just talking about digital transformation with no specific timelines, but it was COVID-19 that really pushed digital transformation exponentially, including the fourth industrial revolution we were just talking about. It as a concept about augmented reality and a lot of other virtual things, but it's really COVID-19 was, that was the key driver. My question, David, is...
Okay, thank you so much for the question. It's a bit of a difficult answer to give, because I would say generally as Filipinos, as the people, we are a reflection of resilience. We adapt in every environment, I think in that aspect, creativity also, I think we are a very creative nation. And I think we will always seek for solutions. Now, whether from a digitalization point of view, if the country is ready nationwide, I'm not quite sure, because I read a report just yesterday that in terms of internet penetration nationwide, I think we are one of the least performing countries in entire Asia. So, of course, that doesn't speak for much confidence, but I have trust and faith in the government that together with the private sector, with the big telcos, that they will speed up the process of making internet more widely available, so that transactions can happen and people can be connected, right? So it depends also again on what kind of industry you are servicing, right? For us in the exhibitions industry, it is very, very important to be connected, to have internet, stable internet. I mean, just like right now, we're having a conference call using Zoom, right? Which is not possible without internet. So we see how important it is generally, and it has to be made more widely available for everyone in the country. That's also my hope, in order for everyone to truly embrace and make use of this power, of this digital power of the internet.
Wow, perfect, David. That's really a great explanation. But when we get back, we'll talk about this virtual expos. We'll talk about how fast and how you pivoted, to this new platform, and how MSMEs, can really maximize and take benefit, from these virtual expos, and how easy is it, to really engage in it, and what's the advantages of going virtual. Open for Business. We'll be back. Mr. Arthur David Abrinilia, founder and chief events officer of Mediacom Solutions, will be with us. Open for Business will return. Stay tuned.
Bukayo, merengue, panutsa, yema, at marami pang iba. Talaga namang patok sa Pinoy ang matatamis.
Ang ginagawa lang namin, candy lang po, lollipop. Hanggang sa gumawa na rin kami ng lahat po ng klase ng candies.
Sabi ko nga po, bakit ang hindi ako maggawa ng pastillas?
Ay malaking tulong ang panutsa. Yun na nga ang hanap buhay namin dito sa Taal.
Masasabi ko naman po talaga na stable at napakaganda po ng naging pasok po ng flow ng aming pong income.
Ating ding aalamin kung paano mo pwedeng gawin ang mga ito sa sarili mong bahay. Ako po, si Robin Padilla, at ito po ang ulat, Kagapay sa Hanap Buhay.
Sa hanap buhay. Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Open for Business is back, and still with me is Mr. David Abrinilia, the founder and chief events officer of Mediacom Solutions. David, we were talking about the importance of the digital space and going into and the use of the social media also in expanding their businesses. Not only the large companies, who are tapping it, but especially during the pandemic, even the micro entrepreneurs really took advantage of the availability of social media. What's your thoughts on making use of the social media in expanding your business, building your business, and what's the impact of that to you as an events trade expo organizer?
Yeah, I think social media played a very important role for people to create a livelihood. I see so many home entrepreneurs, home cooks, starting, to sell food, fruits, vegetables, and so forth to their communities in order to cater to them. I still remember it was created out of a need. People could not leave their homes. People, were not feeling safe to go to the mall, to go to the supermarket. So I found that is a great invention. It's a great propeller for people to put food on their table, to earn money during a time when a lot of people lost their jobs. But what I also see on the other hand is there is much more competition now online. I see there's much more advertisement spent also now by companies going online, because that's where the people are now. So, it's very interesting to observe that, how it will continue in the future. I think it is important that as we are progressing with the digital transformation, that also those businesses will find time to register, and to legitimize the transactions that are being happening. But generally, I'm just happy that the internet and social media allows people to become entrepreneurs, to start trading, to start, surviving and finding new opportunities to generate income and to provide for their families.
Mm-hmm. Now, David, let's go to the exciting way how you pivoted into this virtual expos. The issue there, David, is that, of course, we know, even our audiences know how engaging trade exposition is, the physical face-to-face in terms of engagement with the customers. How is it different this time with the virtual expos, where people cannot necessarily feel or have that kind of customer experience in the traditional trade exposition? Can you now give us how different virtual expos will be, especially the ones that you are putting up now?
Yeah, so I'm happy to belong to one of the first organizers to organize actually a virtual exhibition in 2021. So we found a great event platform, event partner that we're working with together, and it's what was very important for us is that the platform is very user friendly. So, in terms of before, you had these super nice looking booths and everything like that, big space, a lot of personnel, maybe some nice looking promoters to promote your products and services. That is gone now for us. What is more important is now functionality. How quick can I find a certain kind of a company or a certain kind of a service that I'm looking for? And then once they go into it, how quick can I get the information that I'm looking for? So our platform allows to have a quick video in it, where you can have a short introduction video about your company, your services. You will be able to list all your contact informations into it. You can have downloadable brochures, and then you have messaging tools. So it's very, very important that people can message right away and exhibitors can reply right away. They can set up scheduled meetings online. There are even basically rooms where you can meet online to have discussions. And then there are community boards. So now it's now every visitor can get connected with everyone. And also all exhibitors can get connected with everyone. Where before, as an exhibitor, you have to imagine, let's say the foot traffic will always depend on where you are located in the expo hall area. So if you had a booth at the very end, you might have sometimes some downtime. But now, thanks to technology, thanks to our virtual expo platform, you can actually go into the attendees list and message everyone and get connected with everyone. If and now it's not, you don't have to go physically anywhere anymore. It's all in the palm of your hand. Because in our platform, you can actually use the app on your phone and you can look it on the desktop. So let's say we have also talks, right? We have also a conference part. So of course, I would suggest for people that like to listen, say to hours of content of talk, maybe it might be better to be in front of a desktop, or connected to your television and watch it. But if you are just looking and you want to communicate with someone, right? You want to message someone, you want to set an appointment, you can schedule that everything from your mobile phone. And I think that's the important factor now. I think speed is also an important factor in this pandemic. I think people underestimate now how fast technology is changing the business environment, but it's also changing now how people communicate. You know, before you would wait for a meeting 3 days, depending on when someone is available, when you can drive there, or somebody can drive to you, you know. But now it's everything through instant messaging. It's now everything is like, everything goes faster. You know, and people have more confidence also now, since we're all used to do meetings online, to also do deals online already. Right? I think also the consumer confidence and the confidence also among businesses to do business online, to do transactions, to do deals online is much, much higher now than it was before pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you mentioned about two things. One is speed, but another question could be cost. Is it now, cost efficient? Is it more affordable to go into virtual expo? Because as you mentioned before, you needed to really come up with very beautiful booth designs, to really produce and come up with a high impact impression for your business. How can you describe the cost involved in having physical expo participation in a physical exhibition versus a virtual one?
Okay, well, it's not that all costs become cheaper, because the manpower is still needed. You know, you still need your marketing staff, you still need your production staff. When you do content also online, just like you still have a cameraman there, you have your script writer, you have your editor there. So there are new aspects now. Like I would say now, like even like trade show companies become now production houses. So it's like, you want to create a nice video, you want to have nice transitions and so forth, which before you just had a person on a stage, on a seat and a mic, and that was it. Now it has to be all recorded. You want to make sure that it looks nice. You might have to have, you have to get different kinds of apps that you would include in it in order to make the production work seamlessly.
Now, in terms of the technology that you have used in this virtual expo, what were the preparations that you had to do? I think this is more, it's two-pronged. The first one is you, as an entrepreneur who's engaged in exhibitions management and organization, and the other one would be on the exhibitor side or the customer side. What are the necessary technology requirements that you have done to put this up?
Of course, you work together with your let's say web development team to make the platform as user-friendly as possible. So that's one thing. Also, then what I realized is that like for us, really like to explain it also to our clients, it's not anymore, just to send out an email, have one phone call conversation, tell them about the exhibition, and then they would just say, okay, yes or no. Now it takes much more time really to have a Zoom meeting, a virtual meeting, guiding each and everyone through the platform, explaining them how it works, and seeing how to customize it also for the exhibitor depending on their needs. So that's really where the customization now happens, and where you have to also strategize with your customer. Who do you really want to meet? How do you want to meet them? What are the internal technologies that you are using? Some people would want to have their customer meetings on Zoom. Others are using other platforms like Skype and so forth. Some others are using Google Meet. So all of this needs to be integrated into a system, which before we didn't have to do all of these things, right? We hardly even used it ourselves. So it's like there is a learning curve also for ourselves. Number one, to find technologies, then to get acquainted with the technologies that our clients are using, and then finding tools and develop also tools that will integrate all of that, right? In order to then give a really smooth consumer experience to the visitors that are actually coming into the platform and are using it.
Mm-hmm. And the good thing, David, is
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, the good thing, David, is a lot of the entrepreneurs now really appreciate these kinds of innovation. So, do you think, is there also precedent on this uh, innovation where other global or events organizers, the trade exhibitions industry in the different parts of the world, has embraced this kind, and so far, have there been learnings already that can be adopted, for the Philippine market?
Yeah, it's quite funny because virtual exhibitions, in that sense, it's not something new. It has always been there. It's just that we have never made use of it.
Okay.
That's the honest truth. It's not that the technology was not there. It's not that Zoom was not there prior to the pandemic. It's just nobody used it because everybody was still used to call and to send text messages and then to meet face to face, which also has its benefits. I also want to just point out that I'm still so passionate about physical exhibition. I can't wait for physical exhibitions to come back, to shake hands, to see people, to see smiles, to feel that energy, that warmth also. I mean, I love my profession, right? It's just now we have to embrace and also get excited about these new technologies, whether they also cause anxiety, because I know also learning all these things also cost me anxiety. So it's a balance between optimism, excitement, and balancing also the learning curve of learning new technologies and adapting to it, and then hoping that my customers will also be excited about it and that it will work for them. And then also, on the other hand, that the attendees that were used just, to go around, collect flyers, to talk a little bit here and there, that they find that experience of joining in a virtual exhibition, they would say, you know what, this was a great show. I got so much value out of it. I was able to connect with much more people than I ever did before, because I don't get exhausted. I don't have to run around. I can just send messages real quick. I get a response immediately. I don't have to wait in line until somebody else finishes their conversation, right? There's so much information already that is preset that I can already look, where I don't have to actually ask a booth staff, and I can send immediately my requirements, what I want from the exhibitor. So you see, these are all these things that I envision that it will make it easier to make transaction, that it will make it easier and beneficial for everyone. Now, of course, that's my faith and my hope in our industry, that we can embrace these technologies and that the market will also embrace it. Because what are our options? Waiting?
Yeah.
I think everybody's tired of waiting, right?
That's right. Okay.
We need actions right now, and yeah.
Yeah, just a follow-up question there, David. What about this consumer behavior? We know you were telling me about this engagement of customers before with their face-to-face dealings during the physical trade exhibitions, but with a virtual expo, have you also considered, or are there studies on the changing consumer behavior that was brought about by COVID-19, that people are more in terms of customer retention, do they have a shorter attention span now because of COVID-19, because they're used to online materials, in social media? What do you think would be this new consumer behaviors, or the changes in the consumer behavior that have to be considered in a virtual expo?
Okay, I think one thing, since the access of information is so much faster. Like I said again, right? In a traditional expo, you would go around, you would have conversations. Now it's like kind of like you're trying to grasp the information as fast as possible. That's why I said also, for example, once you come to the, like in our case, you come to the exhibition platform, you log in, you go to a booth, and the first thing you see is like a 30-second to 2-minute video. immediately explaining what the business is about, what product and services you are offering. And here and there, people can decide, okay, is it something that I want to know more about? And then I start scrolling, right? I think also in terms of, has the consumer behavior changed in general? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I just look here outside of where I live, and in our gate, there is a huge tent, which is basically like a storage facility for all the deliveries that are coming from all the online platforms.
Yes.
Yeah. At first, the guards were saying, no, sorry. No, first they accepted it. Then it became so much that the guard said, no, we're rejecting. If the owner does not come here and picks it up himself, we're not going to hold it because our booth is already full. To now where they say, okay, we had to build something in order to service our community because all the residents were getting upset that, how come you send them back? I don't have no cell reception in my area and so forth. And they're,
Yeah,
so,
I can relate because that happened in my community.
You can relate, right?
Yeah.
So what I see in here is this: consumer behavior is changing, and it's changing fast. The surrounding industries that are also affected by it, or that are sidely affected by it, are trying to give a bit of opposition, but also they have to adapt. So even if you say like, oh, I don't believe in this, or I don't want this, you would have to adapt. There is no going back, in my opinion. I think it is, you have to listen to what the market wants, where the consumers are spending their time now. I think once we get out of, let's say, once everybody got their vaccines and everybody feels confident again to go around, I think by that time we're just already so used to order things online. I think there's thousands of businesses are coming up now, specializing in niche markets of like someone just selling beef, somebody just selling mangoes. I mean, just selling fruits. Before we didn't have any vegetable home delivery.
Yes.
What was that? Right? There was like there were just a few players that were servicing groceries, and I remember for a long, long time there was only one. There was only one that was really doing it well, that was promising. Within 2 hours, you order, we'll deliver it. Right? But now you want beef, somebody will deliver all kinds of beef. Want vegetables, all kinds of vegetables, right? So I just think that this whole pandemic is creating so many opportunities for people to come up with ideas of new businesses that you haven't heard of. Where you just thought like, what, somebody can make a living on just selling jams? Yeah, because he created a marketing strategy, where he can cover through social media, the entire Philippines. Doesn't need any retail store. Doesn't need a store in a mall. The internet is his store. That's his railway. And then he just connects with all of the logistics. How many logistics companies, transportation companies are out there now? Before we only had a few transportation. I remember still like, so we said not mentioning any brands, right? But you only had, let's say, Angkas Transportify.
Yes.
But now there's so many.
That's
How many
right.
bike riders in every province you have now? An independent one.
That's right. That's right. Correct.
So there will be so many new, not only new businesses, but new business players that you've never heard of. They just say, you know what? I have a bit of cash. I will buy 10 bikes, or I will give my neighbor a job because he lost his job, but he has a bike and he's okay to ride for 1,000 pesos per day. And he can put food at the end of the day on his plate. So I'm generally excited for it. I know. I mean, and I've been hit very, very hard. I had many, many months that I was dwelling on how the industry will look like, and just because of continuously messaging of no meetings allowed, maybe in 2 weeks, until like, you kind of like lose that hope. You say, man, in 2 weeks, he will say again in 2 weeks. That's why I also decided to say, it's time to take actions. And I think if I can give any advice to any entrepreneur out there, that is suffering right now, that is still like hoping that we will go back into the old normal, start rethinking, start rewiring. And also one thing, go online, go on YouTube, go on Google, search for solutions in your industry. There are so many examples of what you can do during this COVID pandemic, and how you can utilize digital products. Everything is in there. All you have to do is just ask the right questions.
Okay. Now, David, sorry we're running out of time, but before I ask you my two last questions, I gotta, would like to know what's in your crystal ball for 2021. Now, what's your outlook for the trade exhibitions industry in 2021 and beyond?
Cesar, you want me to flip a coin?
I get it.
Now, what is in store? There's still a lot of uncertainty, I would say. But I looked at one report by Reed Expo, which is like the biggest organizer in the world. They do like 650 events. They're listed at the London Stock Exchange. They are very confident in terms of the last quarter of this year. They would say that physical exhibitions will resume. But I understand they're looking at it from a perspective of all the first world countries that already have started the distribution of the vaccines, right? So for the Philippines, I think also there will be a major shift once the vaccines are here. It's still a question which kinds of vaccines we get. So that's another open question for all of us, right? Whether is it 50%? Will it work 50%? Or 70% or 80%? I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. But one thing I'm confident about is that that if businesses will embrace digital transformation, they at least have an opportunity, not just to survive, but to discover new business opportunities for themselves. And with that, they will create new jobs that are needed. They will create new employment, and then there's a time when we can all recover from all of this and hopefully come out stronger than before. And one more important thing I would say. One more important thing is what this pandemic has taught me is to start more of collaborating. Don't just look out for profit. This is a time where we have to support one another. So that means, if you're breaking even, but, you were able to help out your clients, your fellow colleagues, and so forth, and to come out of this stronger, then I think the future will look very, very bright for everyone.
Wow. Thank you, David. Those are that's very inspirational, and this interview is very insightful. What's your last word on why should MSMEs participate in the virtual expo, and how can they learn more about virtual expo?
Okay, everyone, we're all stuck at home. Well, let's say 99.9%, just as many as registered businesses we have, 99.6% according to DTI. But, just because you're stuck alone doesn't mean that you are alone. At the SME Business Expo, you will be able to connect with thousands of SME business owners. Reach out to them. You will find great business solutions that could help you to strive and survive in this pandemic. All right? That will give you great insights. We have a conference. We have great speakers that will tell you what to do and what to prepare for. All right? For you to get out successfully. Right? Because, only together, we will become stronger. That's how I believe in it. All right, let's collaborate, let's communicate. All right, and I hope to see you at the Philippine SME Business Expo virtual edition on February 23 to 25. Thank you.
That's a perfect way to end this conversation. That's Mr. Arthur David Abrenilla, the founder and chief events officer of MediaCom Solutions, Inc. Open for Business will return. Stay with us.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Agila Pilipinas! A one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Agila Probinsya.
Sa mga taga-Iloilo at Antique.
Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to thank our health outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Open for Business is back, and our term of the week is from techtarget.com. Our term of the week is virtual trade show. A virtual trade show is an online version of an event at which goods and services for a specific industry are exhibited and demonstrated. The format can be as simple as a basic online directory or as complex as a virtual 3D world. 3D virtual trade show functions like a traditional offline trade show, translating exhibit halls, educational seminars, job fair, and training events into a virtual world environment. This type of trade show is gaining popularity because it allows the attendee to forego the expense of travel while enjoying some of the amenities of a traditional show. At a virtual trade show, there are usually realistic-looking halls or lobbies with booths for showcasing products and services. The attendee can view demos, pick up literature, and chat with sales representatives in real time. Keynote speeches and seminars are delivered either in real time or on demand by videocast, podcast, and webcast technology. And our word of the week is from Cindy Ann Peterson. She said, "In a COVID-19 world, don't zoom away your credibility. Your attire and grooming are some of the simplest things you can do to maintain your professional bearing." Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and at Net25 TV, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News and Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Thank you again for watching. For Open for Business, this is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times.